Okay, so this is a quick review on the Hobbit, The Desolation of Smaug, or Hobbit number 2, as some people call it. I know I call it that. Maybe you don't call it that. But, yeah. Okay, so, before I get into this movie, let me briefly talk about the first one. I like the first one enough. I actually thought it was pretty good. It was in its own timeline, because this actually is the prequel, as everyone knows now, and it happened 60 years before the Lord of the Rings, which is fine. So of course there are probably going to be like a couple of connections to the Lord of the Rings, but for the most part they're very minor, and the only really big connection is the ring itself does make an appearance, and Gollum does make an appearance as well, who used to be called Smeagol, who was a hobbit. But anyway, yeah, moving on. As far as the first movie, I liked it a lot. I thought it was really good. A lot of people, this kind of was a mixed bag with it. I thought it was pretty good. I thought it was number one. The casting, as always, is good. Just like with Lord of the Rings, is good. Nice to see characters come back, like Elijah Wood as Frodo makes a brief cameo appearance. Sir Ian McKellen as Gandalf. Christopher Lee as Sauron, Hugo Weaving is in there again as his character, and it was great just seeing these guys come back to these roles. Andy Serkis as Gollum does a fantastic job as always. Gollum still looks great. He looked great in Lord of the Rings, so not much of a big thing they have to improve there. So overall, I love the first one. So the second film, The Desolation of Smaug, is possibly better, and better in some areas. I think for one thing that I'm just going to say this, it might be too much of a connection to Lord of the Rings, where, like I said with the first movie, it had its own, of course it's in the same world, but it happened 60 years earlier, and like I said, it stays in that timeline and sort of does its own thing, but also giving little winks to the original trilogy, which was Lord of the Rings. But in this one, there is a lot of connection to Lord of the Rings. Might be more so than The Hobbit, or just as much. Now with the Hobbit story, it's the same thing continuing. The dwarves are trying to reclaim their homeland from this dragon named Smaug with the help of Gandalf, a wizard, and Martin Freeman, who's playing the Hobbit Bilbo Baggins. And Bilbo is kind of like their burglar. He's the one that's supposed to go in and go steal a gem from the dragon Smaug that they can, I guess, use to reclaim their homeland. But it's explained much better in the movie why they need this gem. But basically this gem was sort of giving them like their power status back, so I guess that's really why they needed it. But as far as the second one goes, I think I like the first one more. It's kind of like how Two Towers was to me. Two Towers was, this might turn out to be my favorite. Two Towers was actually my favorite movie, but it was, of course, wasn't as good as the other two, but that was when the full trilogy was out. At the time, I still think Two Towers is my favorite, and actually I still think it is my favorite. It is actually my favorite. But in the Lord of the Rings, the original trilogy, even though Two Towers was my favorite, the first one probably had more memorable quotes, and the third one had the best action scenes. And there's no doubt about that. The action scenes got way better, whereas the first one, it was mostly, setting it up, and as the second one, it was kind of like the bridge between the trilogy, the two movies. And then the third one finishes it off with like a fantastic climax and all that good stuff. All the endings wrap up and whatnot. And I feel The Hobbit going down this road, which is good because I still consider The Lord of the Rings to be one of the best trilogies I have ever seen. Okay? And you can look at it like other trilogies, like some might not even be trilogies anymore. I know they made sequels to the movies. Like you can look at something like The Terminator, The Alien, series, the Godfather trilogy series, and you can look at these and say, the third one wasn't as good as the other two, or the sequel was better than the original material. And when you go back and watch those movies, you probably might only pay attention to the first one or the second one, and not really much to the third one. With Lord of the Rings, it was different, okay? You watch one, you want to watch the other, and they left off such good cliffhangers that lead into the other ones, where Return of the King actually wraps it all up. Now, going with the cliffhangers, in the first movie, a lot of people didn't like that, and I was so surprised how the cliffhanger ended with just showing Smaug's eye. And everybody was like, well, you know, what type of ending is that? And I'm like, well, it's supposed to be a trilogy, so it's, you know, it's a cliffhanger. It's, they already have the trilogy in mind, they're already filming the other parts, so that's basically the mindset that you were supposed to have going into this. But a lot of people say, okay, that may be true, but on its own, it's not really a good ending. And I said, it doesn't really bother me. Okay, I can understand your point of view, I guess, but if you know it's going to be a trilogy, what does it matter? I mean, I guess they could have ended it a different way. They could have probably just ended it with just them on the mountain, ending with that quote, I guess. But what type of cliffhanger would that have been? That probably would have been worse. But I just never understood how people felt about the cliffhanger in the first movie and how bad they thought it was. It did nothing for me because I knew there was going to be a trilogy, and I knew it was just going to bridge into the second one. And as I say that, the second one's cliffhanger, the way this one ends, is better. Like I said, the first one didn't bother me at all because you know it's going to be a trilogy. You knew there was going to be sequels made to it, 2 of them. And so the first one didn't bother me at all. The second one, cliffhanger, is much better. I cannot wait till the third movie. And just like Two Towers in the original trilogy, the action actually started getting better. In the first movie, even though, like I said, I possibly like it a little bit more, it was mostly made, like the action scenes was mostly made to comedic effect. When they're getting out of the Goblins' cave, the Goblins' underground world, their fighting scenes are mostly made for comedic stuff, although there are some good stunts in there. And the second one, it is done much better. The fight scenes are really good. The camera angles are really good. Not that they was bad in the first one. Not that the angles was bad in the first one, but in the second one, it's really good. And you can tell the improvement that it's going up to. And I knew the third one's going to be great if the second one was as good as it was. And now, in the beginning, I guess I can say, because it's a long movie. Excuse me. It's a long movie. I'm possibly getting a cold here. And due to its timeline, it's actually, I think I'm getting a cold. Due to this timeline, it actually might get a little, not sidetracked, but a little stale at 1 or 2 points. Because I start going down this trend. You start seeing this trend, especially if you're going from the first movie, like I did. I decided to watch the first movie, and then when I went to go see the second one, I already had it fresh in my mind. So you start seeing this trend of they get captured. They get captured by somebody. They get away, and then they get chased. They get captured by somebody. They get away, then they get chased. Then they got to sneak past. Then they got to sneak past somewhere without being seen, and it just seems like a trend. Okay, you start to really notice it, and hopefully the third movie probably won't have that because they basically made it to their mountain. But in these first 2 movies, you see this trend going there, and you're like, oh, I know what's going to happen next. They're either going to get captured, they're going to get chased, or they're going to sneak past someplace. The part when they reach the mountains, they do try to get to the part with Smaug, and they try to introduce him. And Smaug's a great fucking character, man. I fucking love that dragon. Benedict Cumberbatch, who did the voice of Smaug, really good. I think he really nailed it. Smaug's character is supposed to be this overconfident, greedy, long-winded speech type dragon, this cocky dragon. He's so boasting about himself, and they got his personality down real good. I don't even read the books, but I knew that's how he was supposed to be from what I some of the stuff I did read off of the internet from fans, and I know from fans and whatnot. That's how he's supposed to be, because like I said, I don't personally read the books. I never even read the original Lord of the Rings books, but as just a movie character, and I know people who read the book are gonna love this adaptation. Most likely everyone's already seen it. He does really well, and that voice is good. It's real. It has that deep type of dragon voice, but also overconfident. Just a sense of cockiness, and you can really feel his greed, and he even talks about it. And that's the thing. He basically just he loves talking about himself, and I love that. I love a villain that's like that, because they can be smart, they can be cunning, but also you can get over on them. You can actually sneak around them, sort of play with their emotions a little bit, and that's what Bilbo does. There's actually an interesting scene where Bilbo uses the ring, the one ring. Like I said, they reference Lord of the Rings a lot in this one. But anyway, before I get to that, Bilbo uses the ring, he disappears, and he tries to look for this gem while he's in Smaug's lair. And Smaug wakes up, and he's like, I know you're here, I can smell your breath. He's like, I can smell you, I can hear your breath and stuff like that. I know you're here. And then he says immediately after that, where are you? And I'm just like, fail. Fail. Like, how are you gonna say I know exactly? You're basically saying all this stuff like, oh, I'm so smart. I have all this amazing power. I know exactly where you are, even though that you're invincible. I know that you're here, but where are you? What? I don't understand that. And that was like his first lines, man. His first introduction. I'm just like, oh, Smaug's a little stupid, isn't he? But no, he actually is a pretty smart character, and I really like him. But that's what's playing to the overconfidence part of him. That's most likely going to lead to his downfall. I already know what happens, because I don't read the books, but like I read from stuff from other people, and also he doesn't appear in Lord of the Rings, so you already know that he's gonna die. He's gonna be killed. How he gets killed is interesting. So I would love to know how that's going to go in the third movie. How they're gonna wrap this all up. And you don't have to read the books to know that he's most likely going to be killed off, because, like I say, he doesn't appear in Lord of the Rings, not even mentioned at all. But yeah. So rolling it back to the acting. Once again, they introduce some new characters. There's a new female elf lady, elf woman. Her name, I forgot the actress who plays her, but her name is like Terea or something like that. I can't remember her name, even though it's like stuck in my head. I can't pronounce it, but she is such a great character, and I heard she got a lot of not backlash from this, but like a lot of people didn't like her from some of the comments I read in some of the videos. And I'm like, why? She's such a strong character. Why don't you like her? She's over the top, but she's just as over the top as Legolas, who actually appears in here. Orlando Bloom as Legolas does appear in here, and I knew he was going to, because I saw how they was doing the production of the movie when they was putting up the making of the Hobbit on YouTube and stuff like that. And I knew he was going to be in here, and my God, does he ham it up. He hams it up just like he does in Lord of the Rings. And I think here he is even more perfect. But, or maybe not. He actually does make a few mistakes. Whereas in Lord of the Rings, he just seems perfect when it comes to fighting. In this one, he actually is caught off guard twice. But only twice. And his scenes are just incredible. His action scenes are awesome. It shows off some really great stunts, some really acrobatic stuff. I'm like, this is possibly one of the only roles I really like Orlando Bloom in, and I was so glad he actually was still playing Legolas, and I was so glad he was included in this movie, even though supposedly he wasn't included in the book or only mentioned. Now looking at the dwarves. We know more about the dwarves, as in the first movie, the dwarves was just kind of like, here's dwarf, this one, here's this one, these two, and then the rest. and so now in this one, we get a little bit more of their personalities because we're starting to see them more. So get some more of their names down pat, more personalities being put in there. One of them is actually Ghibli's father. Spoiler. This is kind of like a little Easter egg. It was pretty interesting. They do say it early on in the movie. One of them is actually Ghibli's father, the dwarf from The Lord of the Rings. That's in itself is freaking awesome. But like I said, another Lord of the Rings connection. They make a lot of them here. Two of them is actually Thorin's nephews, and I didn't know that because, like I said, I didn't read the book, so I didn't know. Now to find out that they're his nephews is actually pretty interesting because he said, if I die, you'll take. He said to the older brother, if I die, you'll become the new king. So I can't have you, risking your life where it doesn't need to be risked or stuff like that. I really enjoy the acting from everyone in here. Once again, the acting is very good. Casting, it seems like they can never cast the wrong people for these movies. They can never cast the wrong people for these movies. Their casting is always good. I especially enjoyed the scene where Thorin and I forgot the other guy's name. Hold on, I'm gonna make a quick edit here. Bard the Bowman. Bard, B-A-R-D. I love the scene between him and Thorin. I actually thought that was really cool. And like that little last line that Thorin says, I have the only right. That's freaking awesome, man. I just love the way he says that. And I'm gonna start using that. Just when something happens and someone's like, you don't have the right to do this, I'm just gonna be like in a serious tone, I have the only right. Greatest line, man. Greatest line in the movie. But yeah, Bard, the guy who plays Bard the Bowman. Bard is actually a really cool character. I like him too. His family, although briefly shown, besides his son, who was mostly shown out of his the rest of his family, they do a really good job too. And I enjoyed this movie from start to finish. Like I said, it has some little hiccups along the way. Some of the fights are ridiculously over the top. It might drop you off a little here and there. You might see some things that's coming, like oh, they're gonna get captured again. Oh, I wonder how they're gonna get away. Oh, they're gonna get away. Are they gonna be chased? Yeah, they're gonna be chased. Yeah, it's this formula that keeps going. But until like the last 40 minutes or half an hour of the movie, Smaug is in it, and anything from his part, for when he's first introduced from start to finish, it's just perfect, man. Just perfect. I freaking love this dragon, and I would love to see more of him. I wouldn't mind seeing the movie again just to see him. But like I said, I saw the first Hobbit movie already 3 times, so with this, Lord of the Rings being my favorite trilogy of all time, I'm sure I'm going to see these Hobbit movies more, and I hope I can. Well, that's it. I really enjoyed the movie. If you want to go out and see it, that's fine. If you probably wasn't a fan of the other one, you would probably like this one more. If you like the other one, you'll like this one fine. If you didn't like Lord of the Rings, you probably won't like this. But because this definitely goes down the similarity of Lord of the Rings. A lot of connections here, which can get kind of distracting, but they're also cool at the same time. But maybe there's a little bit too many connections to Lord of the Rings. I'm like, with the first movie, it sort of did its own thing. Yes, we're in the same world, and it's yes, it's okay to mention like one or two references to Lord of the Rings. They talk about the evil that's coming in the future. That's fine. That's fine. Talk about that, have that as a little side quest, but literally it was like 50% of the movie here. It was literally like 50% to like that last bit of the movie, which just goes straight into just it being the Hobbit. And Gandalf even leaves them. He leaves them just to go off to fight this future evil, which we all know was turns out to be. But yep. With that being said, I hope you enjoyed this review. I don't know how long this is. I try to make it quick. I'm gonna probably make some edits into it. And yeah, I will see you in my next review. Take care.